Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Girl Techno podcast. I am your host, Shawnee Sanders, and today we get to talk to truly a fashion icon, Diana Nguyen. She is the founder and CEO of Madison Savile, which is a beautiful fashion line for women that produces suits and beautiful blazers. And we get to really hear the story behind her brand. We get to talk about what inspired her to start Madison Savile. Also, we get to talk about her personal story of empowering women to feel bold, confident, and beautiful with her stylish suits and blazers. Diana's story is so amazing. You're going to listen to her triumphs. You get to hear how she overcame those challenges. We get to talk about so many things in terms of her entrepreneur journey so that you could be inspired along your journey also. So without further ado, grab your headphones, of course, get yourself in a cozy, comfy chair if you're watching, and make sure you take note of the story of Diana Nguyen right here on the Girl Techno podcast. Oh, hey, Diane. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to
Yes,
be here.
I'm excited to learn more about the business. So before we jump into any questions, let's get the story behind the brand. Tell me what inspired you to start Madison Savile. Savile.
Um, so with Madison Savile, I actually it's more than just a fashion brand.
Yeah.
There's actually many layers to why I started Madison Savile, and
Mhm.
it's because one, I love a good blazer.
Yes.
Two, I love what it stands for. So you're talking with different psychologists, learning about how a blazer, how it's structured, it actually really changes your mindset and gives you that confidence that you need because of how it is made. And it actually, from talking to a psychologist, it's because of the structure of the blazer. It gives you that structure when you wear it and you feel more confidence in your day.
Mm.
So that's the other one. I love blazers. I love the whole James Bond, GQ, and I want
Yeah.
that for us, for women.
Yes.
And I always say I want the female version of James Bond, not James Bond's girlfriend. They're very different.
Mhm. Exactly.
And then just really the purpose, all encompassing that is wanting to make more of an impact and inspire and encourage and motivate and be on the journey with women. I grew up,
Mhm.
my mom was a single mom. My grandmother had 14 kids.
Oh, wow.
So I have a lot of aunts.
Yes.
So aunts and seeing my grandmother just raise 14 kids because my grandfather was out, he worked uh, uh, in Vietnam, boating,
Mhm.
shipping. So he was gone a lot. So with my mother and 14 kids, or my grandmother and 14 kids the whole time. And then he
Yeah.
passed away way before I was born. And so my grandmother was the one leading the family. And then my mom, single mom, and my aunts. And this all in turn just kind of it led me to the purpose of Madison Savile and why I named it Madison Savile. So
Mhm.
Savile is for Savile Row, and for
Mhm.
those that don't know, it's a very well-known street in London, known for its bespoke suiting for men. But I want that
Oh,
for women,
Savile Row.
yeah. And then Madison actually means gift of God and warrior, and
I
this
like that.
ties into the tagline for us is armoring you from the outside with our blazers and
Mm.
building you up from the inside. And that's just, from my childhood growing up and seeing the resilience and the perseverance and of these just women in my life, that no matter all the challenges and the hats that you wear, you make it work.
Yeah, oh, do
And
we?
even more so today in this modern day world, as you know, just women wear so many hats,
Yeah, we
and
do.
career women, mothers, wives, daughters, aunts, you name it.
Mhm.
And for us as Madison Savile, we're again going back to what I said earlier. We're not just a fashion brand. You want to be on the journey with you, and so
Mm.
the blazer is just a vehicle. to so much more that I see Madison Savile will grow into. And that's, investing in other women businesses. And right
Mm-hmm.
now we have a portion of our proceeds go towards charities that support and empower women and young girls. And then even just our community involvement. I'm the chair of the Women's Business Network of Beverly Hills. Uh,
Mm.
and then our blazers are designed to inspire and encourage you. So every blazer has words of affirmation on the inside. And
Oh, that's so cool.
what I mean, everything we do is about you and being on the journey with you. That comes down to even the design of our blazers. And so our first collection have the words unstoppable and fierce on
Mm-hmm.
the inside. And I can't tell you just how many customers would message us and tell us like how that message for them that they can see help encourage them in a networking event to get out of their comfort zone, or someone that just needed encouragement that's actually going through cancer,
Mm-hmm.
for example. And just those hearing those messages, and how we've designed our blazers and how we have created this company really for that purpose, really inspires me and keeps me going as an entrepreneur.
I know it does. There's nothing like a good blazer.
Yeah, yeah,
Nothing like when you can find a well-fitted blazer, nothing too boxy, but when it's something that fits you well,
yeah.
you do feel powerful and you do feel fierce in it.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, coming from 15 plus years in corporate, I came from a
Mhm.
finance tech background. And like I said, I love a good blazer. And I was surrounded by women that also love a good blazer. But we ran
Mhm.
into a lot of, the challenges that you come across. I get distracted easily by my clothes. So if I'm uncomfortable, it's not going to work.
Yeah, yeah. I know that feeling.
And then the older I get, the more I value comfort. And so
Yes.
for me, it was very important to make a blazer structured and chic and sleek, but
Mhm.
also feel comfortable. And so we have designed our blazers to actually feel like a sweater or like you're wearing pajamas. And especially after COVID is very important. That
Yes, it
this
is.
looks like a blazer. And so that's one of just, many things that I have designed this blazer to be for women today.
So was entrepreneurship always in your trajectory, or was it just something you kinda like fell into?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a journey to get to, I guess. And I'll give you a little background. So I have an accounting and marketing degree.
Mhm.
And when I started accounting, I always knew that I never wanted to make a career out of it, actually.
You already knew.
I'm like, I already knew, but my stepdad was very strict. I was the oldest of three girls.
Yeah.
It's when I really love marketing. I love business generally, like in general,
Mhm.
and marketing particularly. But he was just like, marketing is not a job. And so he's like, "You're doing accounting." And I'm like, "Okay." So it was already dictated to me at that time. And so I did it. I graduated with the degree. I got hired at a big four firm. I did that. I worked at Microsoft, all of that
Mhm.
for 15 plus years. But I always knew, like I was saying earlier, that this is not for me forever. And there was always
Yeah.
this thing inside me calling me to do more, to make more of an
Mhm.
impact. And it got louder as I got older, and I just couldn't ignore it. And plus, it felt like I love the people I worked with, everything. But it got to the point where every day that I went to work, there was just this teardrop
God,
went down my
so many
cheek
people can relate to that. So many.
because I mean, it felt like it was just sucking the life out of me, my soul, because it's not
Yes.
your purpose. You're meant to do something else, and you're forcing yourself to be on this path.
Mhm.
And the entrepreneurial part came in because then I brought in a couple of career coaches with
Mhm.
very, very different methods. One is a neuroscientist, and then the other one is a spiritual coach. She used to be a
Mhm.
pastor. So different methods, but both came to the same conclusion, and that is your you are to be an entrepreneur with all the skill sets and your
Mhm.
psychology and everything, my personality, it's an entrepreneur. I'm like, okay, great. Of what? So
That's the key. Okay.
you're like,
But what
okay,
am I supposed to be doing now?
yeah. I'm like, that's great. Now what? And that is a journey in itself. And that's why I always tell people it doesn't matter how old you are, where you are in your life, you
Yeah.
can always start this journey. And
Mhm.
you rather die knowing that you tried and answering all the what ifs than dying or on your deathbed going, I wish.
Yes.
So that kind of started my journey. I'm like, okay, now, okay, entrepreneur, what does that mean? And so I thought about what are all the things I love? And at that time, I really loved wine, Shawnee.
Mhm. Who doesn't?
And I was like, well, maybe I should be in the wine industry and be like a wine distributor or have my
Mhm.
own vineyard. And so where I tell people, like, just try, just
Yeah.
in small steps. And so at that time, I really loved
I'm sorry about the dog.
all good, all good. I really loved this wine when I was living in Seattle, and I went to that winery and I asked the owner, I'm like, "Do you mind if I, job shadowed you or learn more
Oh,
about
yeah.
the wine industry?"
Yeah.
So he was like, "Oh yeah, of course." Like I was, one of his, best customers because of all. So, so then, I went and I did this wine and food festival with him just to see behind the scenes, and I go after a while. I love drinking wine. I don't think I wanna be, selling wine, distributing wine,
Yeah.
all of that. Because then
Yeah.
you learn, right? You may think you like something, but then when you try it, you're like, "Okay, maybe not that." And that's what I encourage everyone to do is, like, just at least
Yes.
you don't know, right? You're not stuck to
Yeah.
it. And then this eventually led to, blazers because of everything I said to you before, me realizing
Mhm.
the fact that I actually, because of how I grew up with all the women in my life, wanting to
Yeah.
make a bigger impact, wanting to give back, wanting to, um, have something like a blazer as a vehicle, a powerful vehicle, such as a
Yeah.
blazer, to do more. So if you think about Jamie Kern Lima of It Cosmetics, if you think about, Sarah Blakely of Spain,
Mhm.
they
Yeah.
started with the one product, but they grew their company to the point where they can give back now.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I wanna do with Madison Savile.
Yes. I love that because I was gonna ask that question, like, did you start off in something else before you went to Blazers?
Oh, yeah. Oh, wine.
Just trying to find where do I land here in this entrepreneurial journey here? What's that thing for me? And I mean, like I said, I love blazers. I'm definitely a fan of good blazers. I have tons of them in
Yeah,
my closet because I feel like it's always just that staple piece that you can dress it up or dress it down. You know what
exactly,
I mean?
exactly.
And
You're
so
speaking my language.
exactly, like I love it. And to hear that, you have the words affirmation on the inside, it's like the wearable affirmations for me is
Yes,
so huge.
yes, that's the biggest selling point when for customers, especially if they're going through
Yeah.
something in their life and they're like, "I need it."
Yeah, because you wanna wear something out into the world where it speaks to your life because
Exactly.
that's what you want. And you said something that's so important. So many of us that will get into jobs, right? Because one, our parents say, "Hey, this is where you gotta go," or either society just say, "Hey, this is what you need to be doing."
Yep.
And we'll be in those jobs for a long time and we'll be
Yeah.
so unhappy until we finally get the courage to break free and to really step into I like to say step into our power, but step into our purpose of
Yes.
what we really want to do with our lives. And it's so much more fulfilling, but it's also scary. So I got to ask, were you afraid to take that leap?
Oh my gosh, it took me oh, Johnny,
I knew you were, Diana. I knew you.
it definitely wasn't easy. If anybody said it was easy, I think they're lying. But it was very difficult, and especially, when you think about, how you were raised, your culture, everything.
Hmm. Hmm.
My family is very, very risk averse. So coming from an immigrant family, it's
Hmm.
scarcity, it's save,
Yes.
having a good, well-paying job with benefits. that's success. And
That's the goal.
nothing wrong with that. Like everybody has their own path and journey and purpose, and that's great for a lot of people. But there are some people that have a calling,
Mm-hmm.
and I think people should listen to that voice inside of them. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, it was, yes, I worked so hard all my life to get to a certain level, and I was at that level. And it became where budget is not even a word in my vocabulary. you know,
Yes. Okay.
so, working in corporate, then becoming a senior manager, leadership, all of that stuff, you get to a point where you're like, okay, I've achieved this success. I am comfortable. And to make this big decision to jump into entrepreneurship, where
Yes.
there's a lot of unknowns and you just can't predict. And that is very scary. It took a lot of, this is what I always tell people: relationships and entrepreneurship will bring out everything inside you that you need to heal from, work on,
Mm-hmm.
deal with.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I went through a lot of that. A lot of, like, you hear entrepreneurs will say about the self-doubt, the fear, the
Yes.
anxiety, the panic attacks. And I'm not saying that I don't even have them now. I do, because
Mm-hmm.
it's just but you get better. It's practice, you get better, you heal, things that used to affect you don't affect you as much or anymore, for example.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was definitely when I made that decision. Of course, my parents were like, "Are you crazy? Do you know
Yes.
how many, like, what great benefits you have?" And I agree with them
Yes.
to this day. I'm like, nothing compares to Microsoft benefits.
Oh
I
God.
do miss them, Shawnee.
I know you do.
um,
The perks.
first, but it's like, I don't know. I'm sure you maybe heard this before, but it's like the Matrix. You're gonna take the red pill or the blue pill, and
Yeah.
then when you're on the other side, it's not pretty. Like, an entrepreneur's journey is not roses and rainbows the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You have a lot of things that you have to deal with, and it's so important to have a community of entrepreneurs um,
Yeah.
around you as mentors or as friends, because they will remind you that this is normal. Hey, it's all part of the journey. Because there are days when you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
I know. Like this can't be how this is supposed to
I
be.
Exactly. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know how I'm gonna make it. And then you talk to your entrepreneur friends about it. They've either gone through it, going through it, or like they will help you get back to where you need to be, because it's normal.
Yes. And I'm so glad you said that because as entrepreneurs, I think the first time we step out, we feel like we're solopreneurs. We
Yeah.
do it ourselves, right? That we're in this island on our own and nobody understands what we're going through.
Nope.
Because some of us might not be surrounded by other entrepreneurs. And I think that's a good thing to say is that you were surrounded by other entrepreneurs and being able to have a community of entrepreneurs that you're
Yeah.
surrounded by, it does make the journey a little easy, not easier, but it just tells you, like you said, hey, this is normal. You're
Yes.
not the only person who's doing this. We've all been there. We all have had those years where we
Yeah.
struggle, where we were like unsure and doubtful and scared and
Yeah.
just taking each step in fear, but we're taking it anyway.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example, right? Why it's so important to have this community of entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
and uh, because I've noticed, right? If I talk to friends in corporate, my family, those that haven't been in entrepreneurship,
Yeah.
they will tell you, I mean, why don't you just quit? Like, just go
Oh
back
God,
to
yes.
corporate. Like, it's so hard. Just, do yourself a favor and just go back. So there's a difference. If you talk to an entrepreneur or entrepreneur friends, they're like,
Mhm.
hey, you know what? It's normal. This will pass. Here, let me, give you some resources, or like connect
Mhm.
you with this person to help you out. There is such a big difference. So that's
Yes.
why it's so important to have this group of entrepreneurs, because you can relate to each other. You can help each other through the tough times. And let me tell you, there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
You will never predict what's going to get thrown your way. And only entrepreneurs will understand that, because I had a lot of entrepreneur friends when I lived in Seattle. Now I live in LA, and they would tell you these things, and I would think that would understand and know, but, you don't really know unless if
Mm-hmm.
you're in it, and then you go, "Ah, now I understand." And
Yes.
a lot of my network here in LA are a lot of entrepreneurs because a lot of people have businesses, small businesses,
Mm-hmm.
hustling to, do their thing. They might even still be at corporate and they're launching their company on the side to where
Yeah.
they can get
Yeah.
it to a point that they can quit. So there's a lot of people doing that. And so that's why it's so important to have that community.
It's definitely important to have that support, that community. And also, when it comes to being an entrepreneur, it's like when you talked about like that thing just inside of you, like
Yeah.
I feel like once a seed is planted, it's so hard to ignore it. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
it really is. Once you have something planted in you and it's just like that burning desire that you never forget it. And it's like you can work every day, you can work every day, but you still have this desire to do something more. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily know what that is, like you said, but you just have a desire to do something more and feel like, I know I can be doing more
Yeah.
than this. I'm not just I know that's how I felt. I'm not just this. Like I was in tech and I was in
Yes.
product. And I'm like, I'm not just this product owner. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not just this person that does this. I'm so much more than this. And I'm doing this on the side because I love podcasting. I love doing this. I
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
doing the stuff that I'm doing. And I'm like, eventually I want to do that. And
Yes.
my leap came unintentionally. I got laid off. So I had to take the leap.
You were like, I was forced to.
I was forced to, you know what I mean? I was trying to have a better plan, but I'm like, okay, God, maybe you got something different in store for me. I don't know, but
Yes.
here
Yes.
I am, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna take it, and I'm gonna wear it, and it's not an easy journey. And you do think about, man, that was a big check I just got rid of, just lost some. What's gonna happen here? Tell me this, because this is something I always want to know, and I ask a few entrepreneurs this. What did it feel like when you got that first month of sales that you were like, oh my God, this is working?
Well, I say it is kind of a reality check. You're like, well, somebody likes my product.
That's what I'm saying.
You're like, oh, really?
Oh my God, nobody likes it.
Yeah, you just because you're so biased, you're so in the weeds all the time.
Yeah.
And that, when someone purchases and sends you a testimonial or without you asking, or sends you like this email or message about how much they love it, it
Hmm.
is it is like a gift every time it happens for some reason. Like, oh, that's so great. You're biased because you love your product, but
Yeah.
you work so hard to get there. Because for
Hmm.
me, my journey, I mean, every entrepreneur's journey is long. Like you hear about the successes, but you don't know how many years they've spent, right?
Yes. It's
On
that in between.
the
Yes.
in between. And that's exactly what happened to me, where I quit and it took so much longer than I thought. To
Yes.
launch. And when we were supposed to launch was actually during COVID. That was the planned launch date. And then COVID,
Hmm.
again, things you can't predict.
Yes. Things you
And
can't
that was
predict.
like a setback in terms of adding 2 more years until we can actually launch product to sell. And
Hmm.
so that journey is long, and then when you get there, you still have to pivot, because the point is that what I've learned, because I'm very OCD, I'm a perfectionist. I actually
Hmm.
came from a risk compliance background. That's why it was even more hard to make that leap.
Yes.
And it is it's just it it's launching into something you just don't know, and then you have to pivot. The Being a perfectionist and wanting it to be XYZ and perfect, you learn along the way as an entrepreneur that you can't do that. You have to get your product to market at some point. And then
Yeah.
so you can hear the feedback, so you can pivot, so you can refine and then make it better along the way. And that's, something that I am in continuously learning and forcing myself to be like, you just gotta go, Diana.
Yes, you do. You gotta go for it. And I like it. Oh my God. The journey of entrepreneurship has been an event one for me, very eventful. It's been eventful, but I'm excited about it still. in terms of like the possibilities and are endless. I feel like when you're an entrepreneur, there's so many possibilities. I think when you work for someone, you're kind of limited in
Yes.
terms of like how far you can go. You're going to go but so far. Your salary's going to cap at a certain point. But now I'm like, it's unlimited possibilities. And
Yes.
I like that idea of unlimited possibilities for
Yes.
me.
Yes. It is definitely hard to go,
Yes.
in and out. Cause I mean, I do that. I go in and out in terms of I do consulting still on the side.
Mhm.
And, it's very important to talk about every entrepreneur's journey is different. It's not like it's never a
No,
straight path,
it's different for
right?
everybody.
It's different for everyone. And so I have friends that, like I said, still have their corporate job, building their business on the side. I have
Mhm.
friends that are just fully in their entrepreneur, journey.
Yeah.
And then me, kind of, I dip in and out of my consulting if I need to, right?
Mhm.
If right now we're pivoting Madison Savile and working on Madison Savile 2.0.
Mhm.
And so going back and forth, it just reminds you of what you just said, Shawnee, of, being in corporate and then you're kind of in this box.
Yeah.
And you're limited in terms of your ceiling. But then
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur, you have the freedom of your own schedule, and the possibilities of what you can build from it and do from it. And you
Yes.
never know where it's going to lead. And that's, one of the many things that I've learned is that you may set out for it to be, this. But
Mhm.
then 10 years from now, it might be something completely different that you just didn't even imagine. But it's great, if you think about, what was it? Shopify.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and then you think about Netflix,
Mhm.
Amazon, how they all first started, right? It was just like, oh, it's
Yes.
going to be books. And then now look at Amazon.
You see it? I remember getting the Netflix when they came out, you got the DVDs in the mail.
Yes.
Do you remember? Like, it was subscription, but DVDs in the mail. That's how it was, and you send them back to them.
Exactly. And like then they jumped on to the streaming and now look at
Mhm.
where they're at. So you just never know.
You really don't. You never know, and I think it's something to be said about being able to pivot and not knowing where it
Yeah.
can go. And I think as entrepreneurs, we got to have that open mind because sometimes I feel like we could be so dead set on what our business should be and then be afraid to pivot or to think of it
Yep.
might evolve into something else. Were
Exactly.
you always open to the fact that, hey, this could evolve into something much bigger than what I even imagined?
No, no. This was this was as I'm just being honest with you.
Oh my God, that was such a good answer, Diane. She's like, no, no, no.
I always knew that it was gonna be an impact, like building something bigger in terms of I'm not setting it out to be a boutique. I
Yeah.
incorporated it as
Hmm.
a corporation because I want it to be something bigger.
Yes.
And that's what I always knew, but it was always in my mind blazers, right?
Hmm.
And so this was probably as new as this year, Shawnee, to your question
Hmm.
of going, wait, I'm just open to wherever this is going to lead me. And that's the
Yes.
exciting part. And being open to that and being open to you never know who you're going to meet, what maybe like eventually products or collaborations you're going to end up doing that's going to lead you to something else or something more. And that's the exciting part. And that was my realization this year of just
Yes.
being open to the journey. And yes, you may be starting off as blazers, but that might turn into something completely different. And I'm
Really
open to it.
different.
Yes. But
That's
that
so
was this
awesome.
year.
But you know what? Eventually we all have to get to that point.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like when a brand goes through a rebrand. People rebrand all the time. You
Yes.
know what I mean? To the brand and match what they're trying to do. So I'm like, we always have to be open to that. But I could talk to some people who are so dead set on, no, this is what it is. And it's like, you got to be open to where it can go. You never know.
You
I'm
never
open to wherever this takes me. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm open to
exactly.
it. Like you
Exactly.
said, I have an idea where I want it to go, but who
Yeah.
knows, right?
Yeah.
The world has something different. You know what?
Exactly.
There was something you mentioned, and I like this quote. It said, "Impress yourself first, and you'll impress the world." Can you kind of elaborate on that? Because I really like that quote.
Yes. Um, it always starts from, and that's just kind of our philosophy of, helping women to
Hmm.
inspiring the whole armoring from the outside with our blazers, but building you up from the inside. So
Yes.
impressing yourself, meaning you need to get to a place of just within your inner
Hmm.
beauty. And that is love yourself, become confident with yourself and your inner child in terms of impressing yourself is,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you got to look at it in the mirror and know, and then you're like, you did a great job. You're phenomenal. You got yourself here. All of these things that you need to tell yourself and know from within how amazing you are. That's the impressing yourself, because when you walk into a room or when you see someone walk into a room and they have that confidence because they
Yes.
express themselves,
Oh yeah.
they know that they worked hard, they know that they're an amazing beautiful person from the inside out, all of these things, right? You can name them. And there's this like air to them of when they walk in, they exude it. It's
Yes.
like this energy of they know. And then there's a difference between that and then someone that comes in and they're not there yet. Or they're lacking the confidence.
Hmm.
And so you can feel and see the difference. And that's
Hmm.
where the impress yourself first, because then you will impress the world. And it all ties together of getting to a place of confidence and believing in yourself and trusting yourself, and loving who you are, because that in turn will show the world without you saying it, uh, that impressing yourself first, then you impress
Yeah.
the world.
Yeah. I mean, that's so important. It's so important to love yourself first and
Mhm.
confidence. Cause I think as human beings, everyone struggles with confidence.
Yes. Yep.
We all struggle with confidence, showing up authentically
Yes.
ourselves.
Yes.
And I feel like when fashion comes into play, because fashion can really change your
Yes.
mood, it can boost your confidence. You know what I mean? Like I'm telling you, put on a good pair of shoes or a blazer, right? You can feel like you're just a million bucks. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like it
Yes.
changes, it can really change your mood. And so you're right, being able to build that confidence and look at
Yeah.
yourself in the mirror and love you for who you are, what you look like, whatever stage of life you're in,
Yes.
is so important.
Yeah. And it's giving yourself that grace, right? That there's
Yes.
seasons in your life that you just have to know that you can't. I think where it gets people is that you feel like you have to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you think about it in seasons of your life, right? If you're a brand new mother, for example,
Mhm.
the season of your life is you and your child, your family. And, the priorities will shift depending on what season of your, like, let's say then your baby is now grown and going to school. So now you have
Mhm.
time back. So that season is going to change again in terms of your priority shift. And so
Yep.
it's just understanding the changes in the seasons of your life and like the ebb and flow of that, and allowing yourself grace to enjoy whatever particular season of that life of your life
Mhm.
um, is important too, because we do get burnt out, and we do, myself
Yeah.
included, of wanting to do everything all at once. We're human, we just
Yeah, we
can't.
do. Want to do everything all at once and instant gratification, right? I know I'm so
Yeah.
guilty of instant gratification where I'm like, I want to see it now. I want to see it now. You know what I mean? And not knowing that, okay, it's a process and it takes time.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
have to learn that patience and understand that it takes time. Let me ask you this. When did you knew? Because a lot of time I ask a lot of entrepreneurs in terms of like growth.
Yeah.
And when did they know that it was time to bring on like a staff, like help, right, with the
Oh.
company? Because
Mhm.
everyone says in order to grow, you have to have help. You can't grow alone.
Right.
So
Right.
when did you know it was time to bring people in or someone in to help you now get to the next level?
I have to say, well, you get to a point where you do it, you kind of do it all on your own,
Hmm.
learn, and then you
Yeah.
also learn at that same time, like what you are strong in and what
Hmm.
you're not that strong in, what
Yes.
you like, what you don't like. And so for me, in order to move the needle, I needed to bring in those people that have more of an expertise and more
Mhm.
experience to
Mhm.
move the needle than me just figuring it out. Because me figuring it out will take probably a whole day versus someone that I bring in that probably takes 10 minutes. And then that's kind of like the cost benefit, right?
Yeah.
And as an entrepreneur, it's a tough place to be because it's budget, whether you're bootstrapping, especially if you're bootstrapping, I'm bootstrapping.
Oh, yeah.
It's always budget. You're like, okay, can I afford that? Or what's the cost benefit versus my time and versus their time? And so you always have to analyze that, and me, social media is not my thing. So I have a social media person, manager that
Mhm.
manages, for me, like um, my Madison Savile stuff. But then, we work very closely together because it's more of help guiding her with the vision and,
Mhm.
certain content and copy. But then she's so fast at it that it'll take her 10 minutes when it'll take me. I mean, this is a comparison. I did do it myself in the beginning, and it
Yeah.
would take me all day just to come up with some copy or caption because I'm just so in my head about it. I'm like, oh, I don't know. What about the, and then
Yes.
then bringing someone on, she's now helping me post, 3 times a week and et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, it saves me a bunch of time and just frustration because it's just not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And so it's just things like that. It's just understanding when you get to a point, um, like who can help you start moving the needle forward because you get to a plateau and
Mhm.
then you have to understand like the next step. What does that mean? Like, and that sometimes, most of the time, involves money, right?
Yeah.
Will
Yeah.
you take that risk in your business to take that next step because the return is going to be so much more? And
Yes.
that's kind of the thought process of going through all of that. And it has to be someone that can help you move the needle.
Exactly. That's what's important. And, the fact that you don't have to do it all. You can
Exactly.
delegate certain things. I think sometimes when we start out, we get so protective of
Yes.
our baby. You know what I
Yep.
mean? It's like your baby. You get so protective of it. I have friends who are like this right now. They get so protective of it. They don't want to share it with anyone else because I'm like, hey, bring someone else in to do social media. Oh, I don't know. I don't want to share my password. They get really caught up in terms of just stuff like sharing a password. You know what I mean? And I'm just really like, really scared to do it. And I'm just like, well, you're having a hard time here. So you're gonna have to share that password with somebody and
Yeah.
change it afterwards.
It really comes down to like I'm happy to delegate. I'm like,
Oh
there
yeah.
you go. For me, I'm
Hmm.
happy to delegate because it helps me to focus on what I really need to focus on and what I really want to
Exactly.
focus on.
Exactly.
That's the difference because for me, if I was again using social media as an example, struggling with it so much, I was just frustrated and taking me forever to do that. And
Yes.
I went through probably like 14 interviews for a social media person,
Hmm.
and I hired someone that was so passionate about it, and she just loves doing it. She just has so much fun doing it. And I'm like, yes,
Yes.
like hire someone that loves doing it, that has fun doing it because that's their passion. It's not my passion. So
Exactly. Everybody is passionate about something else. People are passionate about their
right.
thing, and that's how it is. I always let people know, listen, I'm not the person who's a passionate about, coding,
Yeah.
building sites, and that's somebody else as a special person in life. Okay. And I appreciate people for their talents and their gifts. And it's okay to utilize that.
Yeah.
The other people will be so happy about it. Um,
Exactly.
your line is all about creating comfortable and stylish blazers, right? And to help build women. So can you kind of tell me about any challenges you think women face when it comes to picking the right perfect blazer?
Oh yeah, definitely. One, I don't know why our blazers don't have pockets.
You know what? You are so right. They don't. I got on a blazer now and it doesn't have pockets.
And for me that was very important for me because especially when I was at corporate, when I was at Microsoft, for example, I had
Hmm.
meetings all over campus. It's a big campus, and so I didn't want to bring my purse everywhere with my laptop, and so it was just really hard just to find pockets, just carry my keys and my pen and blah blah blah. And so that was one of the things with all of our blazers. All of our blazers have 5 pockets. And
Awesome.
so you can fit all of your essentials in your purses, in your pockets. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
The other is, shoulders, and the armhole. It can be tight for a lot of women, and that's
Yeah. Yeah.
why some women tend to take it off, in the car when they drive,
Mm-hmm.
or that's the uncomfortable part where you're like, you're wearing it and it feels uncomfortable, and then you can't wait to take it off. And
Yes.
it feels like a bra, right? You can't wait to take off your bra. And that's the other thing that for us, comfort is so important. It's one of my key things. It's comfort, functionality, like just versatility as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was very important for me to have a certain type of stretch in the fabric.
Oh,
And so
yes.
with our blazers, it's a two-way luxury Japanese stretch fabric. And so you can hug yourself, you can do whatever you need to, like I've gone to Costco in this blazer. I
Okay.
would move boxes and these, everything. And that's the whole point, is because I know that we have so many things on our plate, that the last thing you want is something like what you're wearing to hold you back and
Oh,
restrict
yeah.
you. And so it's super comfortable. Like I said, it feels like pajamas. So I have customers, and I've used this too in social media. I'm like, oh, I'm going to use that. That's really good. And they're like, it's like the no bra type of comfort. I'm like, oh my goodness, that is great content. Thank you. And so for us, it took a long time to
Mm-hmm.
get to that point of, because there was a lot of iterations that we had
Yeah.
to do with the blazers in terms of trying the combination of fabrics and
Yes.
then sizing and how it's tailored. And so our jackets are tailored just enough to accentuate your silhouette, but
Mm.
it's not boxy. And so I know that the boyfriend blazer, that boxy blazer trend, um,
Yeah.
my customers love my boyfriend blazer because it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look good in boxy blazers, the oversized blazers. They want something casual and loose like our boyfriend blazer, but tailored. That's
Yes.
what the difference with our boyfriend blazer versus, a boxy, boyfriend oversized blazer, which looks good on people, but it's just not for everyone.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so that's the difference with ours. Yeah.
I like the fact that you say yours have a stretch, because you're right. A lot of time you are
Yeah.
constrained with certain blazers where you can't hug yourself because the fabric is just not that tight. And I'm a person who have skinny arms, and if I put my arm in a blazer and it's super tight, then I'm like, okay, this is not meant for people, for humans.
Yes.
You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because I
Yes.
have super skinny arms, and I have friends who have, just larger, bigger arms than me, and they will get in this thing and it be so tight on them.
Yes. I have
And
had
nobody
customers.
likes that uncomfortable feeling. You're so right.
Exactly. I've had customers that have, that problem that you just said, where maybe their biceps or their arms are a bit big, and then
Yeah.
they can't seem to find blazers that they can fit in. But with
Hmm.
how we've designed it, and then with the combination of that and the fabric, I have a lot of customers said, well, this is my first time I don't have to tailor my blazer, which is
Oh, wow.
great feedback, because of that stretch. And I always tease and say, the T-Rex arms, because
Yes. Oh
you
my
know, you can
God.
only you can only reach a certain way, or,
That's it.
do a certain thing, and your motion is restricted because there's no stretch and there's no movement in your blazer. But with ours, like, you can definitely do all the things, like, you name it.
Exactly. I think another problem area for me when it came to blazers were closing them. I used to be a
Mm,
very large breasted woman.
yes,
I had to get a reduction based off, medical back issues and stuff like that.
yes, yes,
But still, even now, in my size I am now, it's still an issue when it comes to buttoning your blazer.
yes,
In that stretch, that button that's holding on for dear life, right? You've seen it. I've known you've seen it, Diana. I've known you've seen it. That button that's holding on for dear life because you just want to button that one button to give you a shape, right? Because you do that to give you a shape.
yes. I know what you mean. I know. Yes, I do know what you mean. Yes, that's why the stretch is very important. But then
So
also,
important.
like, the classic blazer that we have has that button,
Hmm.
but that has a stretch to give you that give. But then the other option is our boyfriend blazer. It doesn't have a button. It's a shawl collar. And
Mm-hmm.
so it gives you that kind of flexibility, just kind of a different style to the
Yes,
blazer. Where for those that don't like to button their blazer, so we have two different styles. So
I love it. I do, because like I said, I've seen a lot of people struggle with that button on their on blazers and shirts and button downs. So
I
button
hear
downs were never one of my favorite things to wear because of that. The give, they just don't give properly with the buttons. I don't know what that is. So I'm glad to know you have that stretch and you have the boyfriend jacket that kind of hangs,
yeah,
which mainly is the type of blazers that I like to go for, ones that kind of just hang, or either if I can button them, then
yeah.
I'm in heaven. That's really what that is. Oh my God. Okay. So your brand is definitely impacting and inspiring change for women. Is there any initiative that you guys have that you're launching to further support that initiative that you guys are doing?
Oh, great question. So yes, I think for well, every year we'll have a different charity that
Mhm.
we partner with or we donate a portion of our proceeds to. Next year we're just working on what that charity is for 2024.
Yeah.
Um what we did for this year 2023, we donated a portion of our proceeds to Sparkle Foundation, and
Mhm.
they're a nonprofit that's here in California, and that's helping single mothers. And so it, again, ties back to empowering women and helping women on their journey. Uh, what we're working on going forward, we also have a podcast, Madison Savile Inspired Podcast, um,
Yes.
and to help, similar to what you're doing, it's just sharing inspiring stories to the
Mhm.
community, and it's anywhere from fertility to overthinking, so
Yes.
these topics that women go through, and we just need to hear and learn from different experts or hear stories from the community. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, this is normal.
This is normal. Yeah, and you're so right
Normal.
about that.
So there's that, and then for, like I said, we're working on a Madison Savile 2.0. So there's going to be a rebrand. We're working on the fall collection of
Mhm.
next year, and
Okay.
it's always been part of my thing to introduce plus sizes, and so
Oh,
we're
yes.
on that next. And again, back to what you're saying about when do you know that it's the right time to bring on other people, right, to
Yeah.
help you. And I just brought on another extension of my team to help me
Mhm.
achieve these things, because I definitely could not do that part on my own.
Exactly. You need help to do it.
Yes.
What are you most excited about when it comes to Madison Salvi?
It's just the purpose of it. It's the impact
Mhm.
that, just how we can inspire and touch people's lives. And like I
Yes.
said, be on that journey with the woman. It's For me, I have to really stay focused, because as an entrepreneur, I'm like, oh, and then we could do this, and then we could do that.
Yes. Yes.
I was like,
Yes.
okay. My mentors are always like, you need to stay focused on the next step. So look down on your feet, at your feet, and take the next step.
Mhm. That's
And
right.
for me, because I want to invest in women's businesses, I want to build out and be a part of different initiatives to help us, especially, I'm not a mother yet.
Mhm.
I do want kids, but I see a lot of moms and mothers like just struggling, with the whole daycare that costs a mortgage, and
Oh my God.
all these things.
Let's
Like,
not
there's
even talk about that. That is
yes,
like the worst.
there's
S
fertility, there's so many other aspects in a woman's life that I want to be a part of in terms of helping change that narrative. And
That's
so
awesome.
that for me is the very like exciting part of it that I look forward to. But again, it starts with a vehicle such as a blazer to
Mhm.
get there. But like I said, like we talked about, it's being open to the possibilities of where Madison Savile could go and could be. But these are the things that I'm excited about: is where can we make an impact? Where can we help change the narrative for women?
That's and that's awesome. I love that. What advice would you give another woman who's looking to make that kinda leap from that career corporate job at a certain status to entrepreneurship, what advice would you give her?
I would say, um, don't let your fear and overwhelm stop you before you do anything.
Mm,
Because that's the number one thing. The first step, doesn't matter how small it is actually the biggest step. And that
mhm.
first step can be taking a class. That first step, like I was saying, with my wine thing, just asking that question of
Yes.
learning more. It doesn't have to be, "Oh, and then I gotta go do this whole thing and get a master's program or a degree," or whatever, you know? It's like, if you're curious about something, be curious about it, like lean into it. See if you're
Mhm.
actually really passionate about it, if you want to start doing something on the side, or it's just a hobby. Because you never know. These things
Yeah,
can be just hobbies, or it can turn into something where, like, I really love doing this. I wanted to make it my purpose and my passion going forward. But my
exactly.
advice is, don't stop yourself before you even try. Like, try anything.
Exactly. I like that. Just try anything. Don't be afraid to do it. And
Yeah.
it's so true. Like you said, you can start off as something just on the side to see what you like. And you can do, like you said, different things, especially when you have something already. You could try multiple things to
Yes.
see what actually sticks, what you actually like. Because a lot of
Because
times people don't really know what they want to do.
exactly. That's it. And the thing is, they actually stop, they talk themselves. I've seen it, I've heard it, I've in front of my eyes, like they will talk themselves out of it before they even do anything. And I mean anything, like
Exactly.
just taking a class or just journaling about it. But
Yeah.
the you just have to lean in and put more time into it every day, even just 15 minutes a day. It's like, okay, so after I put the kids to bed, I'm just going to spend 15 minutes looking on Pinterest of
Yeah.
creative ideas for whatever. It's just giving it life along the way, breathing breath into whatever that is, and not
Hmm.
letting it die, and not letting yourself talk yourself out of it before you even do anything.
Exactly. And that is so key because we all do that so much. Like you said, we will talk. I don't know what it is about us, but we are so wired to go to the negative first. We're never wired to
Yes.
say, "Oh,
Yes.
what if it does work? This might if this work, I could
Right.
do this, this, and this." We only think about, it's gonna be hard. Do you really got the
Yes.
time for it? Do you want to do that? It's gonna be tiring. We always go to the negative. So I'm glad you say that, to just kind of just go for it, and don't talk yourself out
Yeah.
of it, because it can, you're talking yourself out of something that can truly change your life.
Total absolutely. We are wired actually to keep ourselves
Yes.
safe. And that's our mind. It's like, no, 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 because what's unsafe is the
Yes.
unknown. And so what your brain will automatically try to convince you that you are safe here in this
Hmm.
bubble. We know this works because we've been
Yes.
doing this. But anything outside of that, it's not safe. So then you start talking yourself out of it. So that's the cycle that you have to break. And that's why mindset is
Oh
so
God.
important, especially for
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, because you can just easily fall
It's
into that cycle.
easily working on the mindset all the time.
Yes. It's a continuous thing. It's never perfect. That's why you need that community around
Exactly.
you.
It's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey that you're going to work
Th
on for a while.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder.
Oh my God, Diana, this has been such a good interview. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Welcome. This is fun.
This
Thank
has
you,
been
Shawnee.
fun. I've learned so much, and I'm definitely going to shop, of course, because I have to, because I love blazers. I was on the site
Thank
last
you.
night. So,
Thank you.
and I was like, "Ooh, look at this one."
Thank you.
Just letting the hubby know, like, hey, this is Christmas coming up. Just pay attention here.
Well, the founder,
Exactly.
so yeah, ask questions, reach
I
out.
will. I would definitely ask questions. I thank you so much again for coming on the show.
You're so
Can't
welcome.
wait for this episode. For everyone to hear this episode, I think it's been so inspiring. You definitely gave so many great jewels and knowledge in this in this interview that people can definitely use and be encouraged to just continue on their journey, and don't be afraid. Don't talk yourself out of anything.
Thank
Yes,
you
I
for
thank you
having
for that.
me.
All right, guys, listen, I am Shawnee Sanders. This is the Girl Take No podcast, and I will talk to you next time.